Probably because our founding fathers were smart enough to realize that the American people have the attention span of high-speed lint, and should Halloween and Election Day be contiguous, we might all have heart attacks after being scared spitless 2 days in a row. Surely they knew even back then that a dead electorate is not a happy electorate. Although the distance between these two may be stretched to the furthest point, the eerie connection has been magnified this year with numerous creepy clown sightings. Creepy clowns have been reported in small towns on social media and even in the UK, where their tradition is long clergy. The situation has become so dire over here that Ronald McDonald is on hiatus, so as not to be confused with his even creepier brethren. To many of us, the term creepy clown is redundant. Seriously, how much more scary is a clown with a chainsaw than a clown with a balloon animal hat? And another connection this year is the creepiest of all the clown sightings, that orange malignant one currently running for president as a Republican. And speaking of Halloween, why is Donald Trump like a pumpkin? Because they're both orange on the outside, hollow, and destined to be discarded in early November. For the Cause Effect, I'm Will Durst.
Thank you very much, Will. Always great to have you on the show. All right, so it has been an interesting week. I think the big story was the attempt at a resurrection, and I guess it's working in some circles, of the Hillary Clinton email scandal. I guess the FBI found on a computer belonging to Huma Abedin and her husband Anthony Weiner.
Good old Weiner.
They found some emails in the course of their investigation into Weiner for sexting with a 15-year-old girl.
Talk about a loser.
He really is the gift that just keeps on giving, isn't he?
I mean, it's like, he just stepped on the idiot button and just went south.
And he keeps doing it.
Yeah, he can't control it. They said that the internet was supposed to move you forward, supposed to give you convenience, but it also brought out the jackasses of the world.
Certain sexual perversion.
Yeah, I mean, used to be you had to go really far to get a. You used to steal your father's Playboy magazine or something. These guys now it's right in your face.
It's everywhere all the time,
and they can't stop. I mean, that's why we don't have internet at my job, because you come in the morning, the next shift 6 to 2, and you got just a face full of coochie and balls and everything. Like, Jesus, dude, you couldn't.
Work people. I can't believe.
They were
That's
gone.
Shocking to me.
Oh,
that's why they monitor. Where you go on the internet if you have a computer and you're an employee. So now people watch it a little bit, but
oh lordy,
they fire you.
Yeah, well, anyway, there's nothing there. I mean, none of those emails were to her or from her. They can't really nail down what the nature of the emails are. And, of course, what we have here is just yet another example of the double standard that's being applied in this election and how we punish women for ambition. And that's what's going on here. And also, the media is needed to have another uptick. And, it's funny because, again, I listened to Keeping It 1600, and the guys on 1600 were saying 2 weeks ago, as the polls were closing, not the polls, the electing poll, the poll numbers were drawing closer together. Hillary was having a greater lead. And they said, you know what, there's going to be another manufactured scandal to bring them together, because we cannot go 3 weeks. There was no election happening. As of this thing yesterday, earlier in the week, I don't know if you guys had this, but I was sitting around going, gee, I wonder what happened to the presidential election. Like, it's over, and nobody cares about it anymore. It's done. And where's Trump? Trump is just doing rallies at this point. He's not even doing,
right. He's not even putting money into
his... He's putting in the swing states.
Yeah. But he's not even going to the swing states. He doesn't organized, purposeful way. I was watching on Rachel Maddow. There's a county and a swing state that was calling the Trump campaign offices, begging them for yard signs, because they're like, we can really turn it here. We're split, and we lean red. And nobody from the Trump campaign even returned their phone calls.
Well, Reichman says he's going to win. What's the professor's name that has predicted the?
Who?
Yeah.
Well, we rarely go three Democrats in a row. We rarely do.
No, I know.
We go Democrat, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, or Democrat, Democrat, Republican. You know, in my memory, the only time I can remember three Republicans in a row. That was Reagan, and
Bush.
Well,
Bush,
Senior.
Clinton, Bush.
Right.
Bush.
The first Bush. And then, you know, so really, basically, you know, the Democrats have been in twice, and so it most likely will go the other way, probably.
I disagree, and I was just looking at 538.com.
Where are we at 538 now?
538 still has Hillary at 80.6% chance of winning, and Donald Trump with a 19.3% chance of winning. And I agree politics are cyclical. I think you're totally spot on about that, Mark. And we do tend to go, you know, the needle bounces back and forth between the two sides. But I think the Republicans really shot themselves in the foot this time. So bless the NRA. But by having an unelectable candidate, and, you know, their only tactic really has been to try and make the Democratic candidate look even worse.
All they have endlessly is emails, too. I mean, it's crazy. If it weren't for these emails...
Well, that and her pro-war stance. I mean, that
we all agree that that's a nasty bit of business.
And Trump argued against the war and beat the other pro-war Republicans.
Trump only started arguing against the war after the war had already started.
There's a video of him when Bush was running, attacking Bush. I mean, when Bush was in office, attacking Bush for the war. Against it
but
for a long
again,
time.
that was after the war. In the run up to the war, he was for it.
Yeah, and you've got the Howard Stern tape where I guess we should.
It's still better than Hillary, who never has argued against the war. She's completely pro-war, and she wants to spend another $7 trillion to kill people because of the wrong color and the wrong religion in other countries.
No, I don't think that's why. I mean,
you can think whatever you want. That's what I think.
Right, and you can think whatever you want, but I think in this case you'd be wrong.
It's a racist war. When Bush started the war, all of the liberals and libertarians were out on the street chanting 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't need your racist war, being lovingly covered by the press, which also called the war racist. And then for some reason, when the Democrats started running it, spending even more money than the Republicans, suddenly it was no longer racist. I still think it is, and I'll go with the original assessment that 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
we don't need your racist war.
I don't 100% disagree with you. I mean, I think there's a healthy dose of racism in just about anything that American policy addresses. But, you know, I also think that there are other, you know, factors. I think oil was a huge one, and global dominance, and setting up, you know, remote military sites to have greater access to that part. I think there were a lot of things that our government wanted from that war, you know, and the fact that we could you know, erase some brown people along the way,
you know,
wasn't going to slow us down.
When you go back to Bush and you look at the American government's protection of the Saudi royal family after 9/11. I don't think you can fully say that it's racist. It's not against, you know, the war isn't against all Muslims or all Arabs or all brown people. It's against the ones that the brown people who are Arabs, who are Muslims, who are our friends want us to kill.
Yes. Well, think about if this war was against England or a white country. What would be the reaction of the American people? It would be very different.
Well, if it was England, it would be very different. If it was a white country, look back to the Clinton administration and what we were doing in Eastern Europe.
Right, Eastern Europe, which was much smaller. Actually, war spending was the least during the Clinton era. He was actually.
I really believe the question is going to always be asked: why are we in all of these countries? Why are we constantly going to all of these countries and getting involved and you know, all this terrorist thing? I mean, people are going to after a while are going to ask, what are we doing over here?
We can just
What do you want out of Syria? What do you want and all these kinds.
It's entitlement. It's American exceptionalism run amok,
Well,
and
but it's
in a sense that the great white father will come and heal the ills of the world.
We really do think that government fixes everything in this country. This is what we really, really believe. We can just buy more oil from Mexico. They have more. We can actually just get it from even closer.
Well, not if we build a wall.
But if you leave a really big hole in the wall, or build
Just
a big,
big, but not big enough for any
build a
Mexicans to come through
pipeline
it.
underneath the
we
wall.
got oil coming from Canada. We got oil Mexico because NAFTA was connected to oil. That's the reason why we cut that deal.
Right.
And now we're over in Syria.
See, but that's also it's strategic in terms of American foreign policy. And I don't see the war in Syria is one of those things I don't necessarily support, but I understand. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago on the show I was talking about the need for like groups like the CIA and the Mossad, and for certain things, legally it shouldn't be done, but things still need to happen, I was comparing it to Chicago, and the level of corruption in Chicago when I was growing up.
But we did the same thing in Central America when we controlled.
Oh, I'm not saying we do it well. I'm not saying we're doing it right.
We have been doing this a very long time. That's why we ended up in Vietnam.
But you'd think we'd get it right by now. That's my point.
Well, we're spending a lot of money. We're spending trillions of dollars. The thing is, if you own a bomb factory and you're making bombs that cost $1 million each, you're making a lot of money.
Right.
So you need to have somewhere to drop those bombs in order to make more.
supply and demand.
So you have to have a war,
Right.
So it's like it's a lot of it about
Well,
money.
World War II was definitely, our economy was shit, and once World War II came, we put people to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and matter of fact, it started a movement in our economy. By the 50s, everybody, the GI Bill, people were able to go to college. People went from poor to rich. They were doing things. You can't get that now, but
that actually it brings up another issue that's been in the news this week, which is the Pentagon finally coming to their senses and saying, maybe we shouldn't be taking money back from soldiers.
$15,000 to go over into a foreign land and come back with no arms and no legs is not enough money. That's
certainly not.
Wait, I missed this story. The Pentagon's trying to get money from vets?
This started, I think, with the California National Guard at the height of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. They offered veterans. People who had just, gotten out, who had just served, they were offering people $15,000 bonus to re-enlist and go back.
Right. Yeah, 15,000 to 20,000. Some got 15, some got 20,000 to re-enlist. To go back in and everything. And now, but it was not the soldiers' problem that someone screwed up the money, because certain guys got certain amounts of money that they shouldn't have, and some didn't.
Yeah, the people who were.
And so they said, hey, we want our money back. I said, what do you mean you want your money back? I still went over and did what you asked me to do, but yet you're saying I come back with no arms, and yet you say,
oh my God,
hey, I want my $15,000. And
so even if you do come back, with all the limbs you left with, you still, mental issues and PTSD. There's still plenty. Yeah. So this was going on for about a week, broke big in the news. There was one soldier who she was saying that I think it was a third of her income was going to repay the government for the bonus that they said she shouldn't have gotten. So finally, this week, Ash Carter, Secretary of Defense, stepped in and said, stop taking money from soldiers.
Well, give praise to the people who opened their mouth and went to their city councilmen and their government people and put their foot down, and they listened to them, and they got this stuff shut down very quickly. And they took it to the news. You took it to the media. It hit social media. They shut that crap down real quick.
Yeah, sometimes the media and the government do good things occasionally when they're pushed hard enough.
Yeah, it's an ugly thing to do, but, when does the government, not want to spend more money on war? So, come on. taking the money back from the soldiers. The soldiers are, very sympathetic on both the left and the right, so you don't really have any kind of a group that's going to be opposing, not taking money back from soldiers.
Well, you do, but they're, the plutocrat Trump supporters, up at the top.
Even